This is the most crowded rung on the entire ladder, and it is quietly the most dangerous one, precisely because it is comfortable. If you earn somewhere around the middle of the country, you are standing shoulder to shoulder with more people than any other spot on the climb. The rungs above you look strangely empty, and here is the trap. This rung pays just enough to make the climbing stop feeling urgent. It does not hurt. It does not scream at you. It just gently talks you into staying put. Today, I want to show you why half the country steps onto this rung and simply never leaves, and exactly how you get off it. Here is the plan for the next few minutes. First, I will place you exactly where you stand on the income ladder, mark this rung as the middle of the whole country, and give you two honest numbers, the sticker salary you tell people and the real paycheck that actually lands. Then I will hand you 6 unlocks about this rung specifically. 1. The median is a gravity well that quietly pulls people to a stop. 2. A cost of living raise is not actually a raise. 3. The job that got you here will not get you up. 4. This is where lifestyle creep is born. 5. Your pay is now the price of a skill, not the price of your hours. And 6. The median is a launch pad, not a destination. Then I will give you the concrete recipe to climb to the next rung. Let us find you on the ladder. Picture your whole earning life as a tall ladder with numbered rungs. The bottom rung is the floor, where almost everyone starts. This rung, the second one, is the middle. When one popular national earnings survey, Rounded, puts the typical full-time worker somewhere in this band, they are describing this exact rung. This is the median, the literal middle of the country. Half of full-time earners stand at or below where you are, and half stand above. You are not behind here. You are standing on the most statistically ordinary spot on the entire ladder, the same place half the country is standing with you. The danger is not that this rung is low. The danger is that it feels like enough. Now the two numbers, because on this rung they finally start to diverge in a way you can feel. The sticker salary, the number you say out loud, the number on the offer letter, is around $50,000. That is the gross. But that is not the number that lands in your account. After taxes and the standard deductions come out, the real paycheck, the take-home, is closer to $40,000. Look at that gap. Roughly $10,000 a year, gone before you ever touch it, quietly skimmed off the top of the sticker. That is not a scam and not a mistake. It is simply how every paycheck on this rung works. But you have to plan your life around the 40, not the 50. Most people feel the pinch precisely because they budgeted for a number they never actually receive. Unlock 1. The median is a gravity well, and its danger is contentment, not hardship. Every other rung on this ladder has an obvious problem attached to it. The floor is genuinely stressful. You feel the pressure to climb because staying hurts. But this rung is different, and that difference is the whole trap. This rung pays just enough. The bills mostly get covered. There is a little left over on a good month. You are not thriving, but you are not drowning either. And that in-between feeling is the most dangerous financial state there is, because nothing is forcing you to move. Think about what actually makes people climb. It is usually pressure or hunger or a problem loud enough that they have to solve it. This rung quietly removes all of that. The alarm stops ringing. And so, without ever deciding to, most people simply stop reaching. They meant to keep going. But comfortable is a powerful anesthetic, and years slip by on the same rung while the intention to climb fades into the background. That is why this rung is so crowded. Not because people cannot leave, but because leaving requires a push. The rung itself refuses to provide. You have to generate that push yourself. From the inside, at the exact moment life feels fine and no part of you feels like it. The gravity here is gentle, but it is relentless, and it is pulling on everyone on this rung right now, including you. The first step off is simply naming it. Comfortable is not the same as done. Unlock 2. A cost of living raise is not actually a raise, and confusing the two can cost you a decade. Here is what happens on this rung, over and over. Once a year, your pay goes up by a small percentage. The number on your paycheck gets bigger. It feels like progress, and everyone around you calls it a raise. But look closer at what is really happening. Prices went up over that same year too. Groceries, rent, gas, insurance, everything. If your pay went up by roughly the same amount that prices went up, then your number is bigger, but your actual buying power has not moved at all. You can afford the exact same life you could afford last year. No more, no less. That is not a raise. That is a treadmill. You are running, the belt is moving under you, and you are standing in precisely the same place. This matters enormously, because the treadmill is disguised as achievement. Every year, the bigger number tells you that you are climbing, so you relax, you feel rewarded, and you stop pushing for the thing that would actually move you. A real raise, the kind where your buying power genuinely rises. People spend years on this rung watching their salary number climb and never once wondering why their life does not feel any richer. The number went up. The buying power never did. So here is the reframe. A raise that only matches prices is not a step up the ladder. It is the ladder keeping you exactly where you are while making you feel like you moved. A real raise beats prices, and those almost never arrive automatically. You have to go get them. Unlock 3. The job that got you here will not get you up, and staying too long can quietly cap you. There is a quiet loyalty tax on this rung, and almost nobody sees it clearly. It works like this. When you stay in the same role at the same place, your pay tends to drift up only in those small cost of living steps we just talked about. Meanwhile, the person doing similar work who is willing to change roles or change employers tends to see their pay jump in bigger, sharper moves. There is a real gap between how fast pay tends to grow for the people who stay put and the people who move, and over years that gap compounds into a serious amount of money. This is the switch premium, the raise you tend to capture by moving that you simply cannot get by staying. Now I am not telling you loyalty is bad or that jumping constantly is a personality. But you have to understand the incentive you are actually inside of. Employers rarely need to give a big raise to someone who is clearly not going anywhere. Why would they? The comfortable, reliable person who never looks around is the cheapest person to keep. So the very loyalty that feels responsible can quietly become the thing that caps your pay on this exact rung for years. The job description that carried you up to the median was built for the median. It has a ceiling baked into it, and once you hit that ceiling, staying longer does not raise it. It just holds you against it. Climbing off this rung almost always involves a change, a new role, a new employer, a new scope of responsibility. The people stuck here the longest are very often the most loyal ones, and nobody ever warned them that loyalty had a price tag. Unlock 4. This is where lifestyle creep is born, and it quietly welds you to the rung. On the floor, there was no room to creep. Every dollar had a job before it arrived. But on this rung, for the first time, there is a little slack, and that slack triggers a very specific and very human set of decisions. The first, I can finally afford it purchases. The slightly nicer car, because you have earned it. The bigger apartment, because you are tired of the small one. The upgraded phone plan, the better groceries, the subscriptions, the small monthly comforts that each feel completely reasonable on their own. And here is the quiet mechanism nobody points at. Lifestyle creep is a ratchet. It only clicks one direction. It is easy to raise your spending and genuinely painful to lower it, because once something becomes your normal, giving it up feels like going backward. So every one of those reasonable upgrades permanently raises your break-even number, the amount you now must earn every single month just to stay where you are. And that is the real trap, because your break-even is the thing that determines whether you can take a risk to climb, to change jobs, to take the role with more upside, to bet on yourself for a stretch. All of that requires slack, the ability to absorb a dip or an uncertain month. But lifestyle creep spends exactly that slack in advance. It converts your raise into fixed obligations so that even as your income rises, your freedom to move does not. You end up earning more and feeling exactly as stuck because every new dollar of income already has a new dollar of lifestyle chained to it. That is how the median welds people in place, not with a low salary, but with a break-even that quietly climbs to meet every raise. Unlock 5. Your pay is now the price of a skill, not the price of your hours, and this changes how you climb. Down on the floor, pay was mostly a straight trade of hours for dollars. Work more hours, earn more money. The ceiling was simply the number of hours in a week, and you first felt that ceiling on the rung below this one. But on this rung, something quietly shifts. Above bare survival, your income is no longer really about how many hours you put in. It is about how valuable and how rare the work is that you do in those hours. That is a completely different lever, and most people never switch to it. They keep trying to climb the way they climbed off the floor, by adding hours, taking the extra shift, saying yes to more. And it barely works anymore because you cannot out-hour your way up this ladder. There are only so many hours, and you already spend most of them. The people who climb off this rung do something different. They raise the price of their skill. They get better at something the market is willing to pay more for. They become rarer, more specialized, harder to replace, and rarer, more valuable work commands a higher price per hour without adding a single hour. Think of your skill as having a price tag the way anything valuable does. On this rung, the game stops being work more hours at the same price and becomes raise the price of the hours you already work. That means learning the thing fewer people can do, taking on the harder problem others avoid, building the reputation that makes people ask for you specifically. It is slower than picking up a shift, and it does not pay off this week. But it is the only lever that lifts the ceiling instead of just pushing you against it. Unlock 6, and this one ties the whole rung together. The median is a launch pad, not a destination, and the savings rate you set here decides almost everything later. Here is the fork in the road that this rung quietly hides. Two people can stand on this exact rung, earning the exact same take-home pay, and end up in completely different financial universes decades from now. The only difference between them is the percentage they decided to keep. One person treats this rung as a destination. They arrived, they exhaled, they let their spending rise to swallow every dollar, and they save almost nothing. The other treats it as a launch pad. They hold their lifestyle steady, they bank the gap between what they earn and what they spend, and they quietly set a real savings rate right here on an ordinary middle income. Years later, the first person is still on this rung or somewhere near it, wondering where the time went. The second person used this rung to launch, and this is the exact bridge to the companion series, Net Worth by Decade, where the second episode is titled The Trap Springs, because the trap it describes springs right here, on this rung, at this income. The people who front-load their saving on this rung set a machine running that does the heavy lifting for the next 40 years. The people who wait for later keep waiting, because later never feels any more affordable than now. This rung is not where your financial life happens. It is where the direction of your financial life gets quietly decided. A destination is where you stop. A launch pad is where you aim. Choose which one this rung will be for you, on purpose, before the gravity chooses for you. So how do you actually climb off the median toward comfortable? The recipe is concrete, and none of it requires luck. First, capture the switch premium. Treat changing roles or employers as a legitimate raise strategy, not a betrayal. The biggest pay jumps on this rung almost always come from moving. So look around, know your market value, and make the move when the numbers are real. Second, stack a second in-demand skill. You raise the price of your work by becoming rarer, so pick one valuable skill next to what you already do and get genuinely good at it. The combination is what makes you hard to replace. Third, hold your lifestyle flat while your income rises. When the raise comes, do not let the ratchet click. Keep your break-even where it is and bank the entire gap, because that gap is your freedom to climb. Fourth, learn to negotiate. Ask for more, out loud with evidence, a clear record of the value you have added, because the people who ask, calmly and with proof, are paid more than the equally good people who wait to be noticed. And fifth, lock in a real savings rate now, not later. Pick a percentage of every paycheck that moves itself the day you get paid and start today, because the habit set on this rung is the thing that compounds. Do those 5 things and you will not just earn more, you will build the slack that lets you keep climbing. The median keeps people because it is comfortable enough to stop on. You climb off it by refusing to let comfortable become finished. So tell me in the comments, are you standing on this rung right now, climbing toward it, or already reaching for the one above? Wherever you are, the next move you make is the one that matters. This is education, not financial or career advice, just an honest look at the rungs. Next time we step onto rung 3, comfortable, the golden handcuffs rung, where you finally feel like you made it, and that feeling quietly becomes the trap that holds you in place. I will see you one rung up.